All right. Today on Wellness Wednesday, we're talking about shingles, and a vaccine to prevent it might offer an extra benefit. New research published in the Journal of Nature suggests the shot might cut older adults' risk of developing dementia over the next 7 years by 20%.
The study tracked people in Wales who were around 80 when receiving the world's first-generation shingles vaccine over a decade ago. Now, the findings build on other recent studies that have helped link herpes virus infections and an increased risk of developing dementia. So we brought in Dr. Alan Grill, Chief of Family Medicine at Oak Valley Health, Markham Stouffville, to talk more about shingles. And Dr. Grill, what is the link between shingles and dementia here? Because this is something I'd never heard before.
Yeah. So so just to start off, so there's this family of viruses called herpes viruses. One of those viruses is called varicella zoster virus. It actually causes chickenpox. So if you get infected with chickenpox, even after you recover, that virus goes to sleep inside your central nervous system. And then there's about a 1 1/3 chance that virus will wake up one day. It's usually an older adult or if you're immunocompromised, and then it causes a condition called shingles. Now, shingles gives you a very similar rash to chickenpox. The only difference is it's not widespread, and it can be extremely painful. So even after you recover from the rash, you can have a lot of pain.
Wow.
Yeah. So the idea about how it could be related to dementia is as the virus is sort of traveling through your central nervous system, maybe it damages brain cells and puts you at a higher risk of dementia. The good news is that there is a shingles vaccine, and the idea is that if you can prevent the virus from ever waking up, then maybe not only will it decrease your chance of getting shingles, but it'll decrease your chance of having pain, etc. And in Ontario or in Canada, the shingles vaccine, it's for anyone over age 50. It's actually covered, but if you're age 65 to 70. And the other thing, too, is we've been immunizing kids against chickenpox for about 20 years with the idea that they'll never get the wild type varicella virus. So if they never get chickenpox, it might decrease their chance of shingles, but we still have a lot of people that were infected years ago, older people.
Right.
And so that's how this study came to be.
I see. Yeah, and there was an interesting study in 2013 in Wales with, shingles and dementia. So if you get this vaccine, can it prevent your chances of getting dementia?
Okay, so let's quickly talk about the study because it was really interesting. So in 2013, the government of Wales decided they wanted to give the vaccine to adults that were age 71 to 79, right? Because they're at higher risk. And they set this cutoff date, this birthday date of September 2nd, 1933. So if you were born on that date or after within the 71 to 79 age group, you could get the vaccine.
Right.
If you were born before, you could not get it. So they did this almost natural experiment where you had people that were sort of in two groups, and they were pretty similar except the fact that one was eligible for the shingles vaccine, one was not. So then what the researchers did was they said, okay, let's look at people that were born within weeks of this birthday cutoff date. Because what's the real difference between someone who's born September 10th versus August 25th? And it turns out that the people that were eligible for the vaccine, 47% of those people within weeks of the date got the vaccine, and less than 1% of the group that couldn't get it got the vaccine. So maybe they paid out of pocket, et cetera. So now it's wow, that's the main difference between the two groups. Then they said, okay, let's look at their health records for about 7 years after the point they introduced this, so from 2013, let's say, to 2020. And it turns out that the group of people that got the vaccine, that 47%, they had a 20% reduction in the diagnosis of dementia relative to the group that never got vaccinated.
Right.
So then the author said, okay, well, maybe there's other factors like co-founders that introduce bias. There's other reasons why they had less diagnosis of dementia. So they looked at a bunch of things, but just to give an example, the group that got the vaccine, maybe they had better medical care than the other group, or maybe the group that didn't get vaccinated, they got shingles, right, because they were high risk. They went to see their doctor more, and then their doctor's like, oh, you're in your 70s, let's screen you for dementia, I'll pick up more cases. But in both of those examples, the answer was no. Those factors did not exist. So there might be something to this vaccine.
Seems to be a connection.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
definitely a correlation.
as someone who turned 50 last year, I have not been vaccinated. But what are the recommendations then for the shingles vaccination?
Yeah. So right now, if you're over age 50, you're eligible for it. Depending on which province you live in, some provinces cover the vaccine, some don't. So in Ontario, if you're between 65 and 70, it's covered. Obviously, if you have private health benefits, it's covered that way. You can pay out of pocket. It's not cheap. It's about $500, and it's 2 doses, so total cost $500. The 2 doses, 2 to 6 months apart. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this study is, number one, we're seeing more cases of dementia because we have an aging population.
Yeah.
And number two, dementia is debilitating and it's expensive to treat patients, their families. It's expensive for the healthcare system. So my main message is we have to keep funding research that looks at prevention and treatment of dementia.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is this study, it's just a signal, right? You know, it could be due to chance, we don't know. And they only looked at health data from 2013 to 7 years later. So maybe it doesn't prevent the people from getting dementia. Maybe it just delays the diagnosis, which is still important.
Yep.
So the conclusion is this is a signal. We can't make any concluding statements from it. We need more robust research. But I give credit to the authors. It was a creative study. Maybe it can be repeated in another population.
Yeah.
But until we get more data, it's just a really interesting thing to look at.
What is your sense? Do you know, we sort of know, you know, vaccination-wise, like flu vaccines, how many people get it each year, or COVID, how many people were getting it or not getting it? Do you know what the sense is of how many people over 50 are actually stepping up and getting the shingles vaccine? Do we know that publicly?
That's a great question. You know, I'll bet you we could find, I don't have the info with me today. I bet you Health Canada has the info. And I can say that in Ontario, we definitely have the info of the people that are covered.
Yes.
But it's a great question. But I'll tell you, in my own patient population practice, 65 to 70, no brainer.
Yeah.
Most people will be like, yeah, I'm happy to get it.
Yeah.
And people have friends that have gotten shingles and they complain about this burning pain.
Yeah.
You can have it for months or years. So that's not a hard sell. And then again, it just depends on financially whether you have the means to get it.
Yeah.
Okay, fascinating.
And that pain, codeine is not going to help because
It's really hard to treat. We have some medicines for it, but I have to tell you, it's a challenge to treat the post-herpetic neuralgia.
Okay. All right, Dr. Alan Grill, really appreciate this conversation and, you know, bringing to light this study. I hope you have a great Wednesday and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Grill. Quick break here on Breakfast. Back with your headlines right after this.